Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil. And I saw some comments from you guys kind of talking about that how much easier the game used to be and that now it's so much harder to play this game and it's impossible to be free to play now. And I've talked about that. I don't think it's impossible to be free to play now. But I want to kind of address how difficult Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes is right now. Because I think that there's a lot of varying degrees of difficulty that have changed throughout the game, that the skills that it took to be good in Galaxy of Heroes in 2016 are far different than what it's going to take in 2024. So we're going to kind of dive into that a little bit. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts. So let me know what you think. If you've been playing for a long time, obviously would love to hear from you. If you're a newer player, let me know what you think is the most difficult part of this game. Again, like, subscribe, comment. We're trying to hit 10,000 subscribers. When we hit 10,000, we'll do a special live stream. Make sure we do a good Relic 9 there. So again, trying to thank my channel members right now for all of their continued support. Again, that is always linked in the video description down below if you're ever interested in joining. Again, these guys, they have a special section of the Discord where they get basic, I don't want to say exclusive access, but priority access to me, and any questions they have get answered as quickly as I can. So let's talk about the difficulty of Galaxy of Heroes. When this game first came out, the biggest crunch that existed was Carboni's, and was Carboni's really, right? I clicked on a stun gun because those two, but Carboni's was the biggest crunch. Carboni's was everything. The highest gear level was gear 11. Carboni's was the big thing. It was brutal. I mean, I even think when it first came out, it was like gear 8. But like Carboni's were always the biggest problem in Galaxy of Heroes. They were what drove everything. And so a lot of those characters, when you look at a character like where's he at? General Kenobi. General Kenobi needed like 450 Carboni's. Do you know how insane that was to have to do back in the day? I mean, it was cringeworthy to have to gear up a character like him. It would take you months to save up that amount of Carboni's. It was a long time to save up 450 Carboni's for a character like him. And so I would say for a long time, a lot of the skill in Galaxy of Heroes was just patience. That there wasn't really this like, oh, gotta manage this resource, because they didn't really give you that many of them. So it was an easy decision to kind of save it, but it just took time. Like, you just had to accept that it was going to take you a long time to get these things. And then as more things came into the game, that time kind of got sped up a little bit, but it still was a big thing. Like, Carboni's was this huge problem. And so a lot of times what you would see with accounts is, if you go to like the bottom end of my account here, you look at a lot of these characters that look like they're at this gear 8 level, right? That was from when Carboni's were this huge deal, and that everything before it wasn't nearly as bad because relics weren't introduced yet. So it was just a waiting game of, can I get the gear that I need to take these characters to the level I need them to be at? So that kind of, encompassed the game for a long time. Now, I need to be completely transparent. I took a break. I took a long break. I took about over a year and a half off of this game from August of 2018 to April of 2020. I came back during quarantine. Thank you, Mahir, for ruining my life. Pure sarcasm there. Obviously, this game has been, huge. I have a Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes channel. So, but came back in April of 2020. When I came back in April of 2020, Carboni's were still a problem. But now you had to add on top of that relics and Kyratex, and it was a whole new world for me, a whole new ball game. And so the patience was still there, but there was an added skill on top of that of managing all of these different resources. There was far more to manage. You couldn't just go and equip these Carboni's, because you do that and you get stuck with, oh crap, I don't have any Kyratex, and, all this stuff kind of came together. So resource management started to play an even bigger role, and in many ways the patience was a little bit less because there was more avenues to get gear. As this game has progressed, all these events have been added to the game that have continued to increase the amount of gear. Think of all the different assault battles that are in the game now. Think of Conquest, Territory Wars, Territory Battles. That stuff was not always around to give you rewards. And then on top of that, you've also got to remember with this new raid system that giving you these tokens to be able to choose your raid rewards has greatly increased how I've been able to progress my account, that I don't have to buy these things anymore. I don't know where 2,000 of these came from, right? But I got them from probably like the HAT raid, right? I can buy the stuff that I actually need. I can buy things that actually matter, that will make a difference. And that is huge, because for a long time it was just random. You had to just wait around and hope that you got the rewards that you needed from the raid, and it was awful. So it's easier to progress faster now, but you've got to manage your resources a lot more, because you can't just afford to go and spend all this stuff, because you need it at varying levels. So you think about Kyrotechs, where you need some of them in excess of, 600 a character. When you think of like Riva and some of your Galactic Legends, you need like 700 total Kyrotech. So it's a lot of investment there. So managing your resources is very important now. I don't know that I would say that's more difficult than what the patience used to be, because before there wasn't even any resources. So it took a different kind of patience, if you will, because now it's, okay, you've got to patiently wait to equip those Zetas or equip those pieces to whatever you're going to be working on. Where before it was like, I don't have anything to equip anyway. I just have to wait around for it. So that the difficulty there has changed a little bit. That it takes less patience, but it's taking more of your resource management in order to grow an account. So that was the first change I noticed. The second one that I've really noticed that I think has kind of come more and more to the forefront is that the game now is much more about building a wider roster. When Crystals were still in Squad Arena, one of the best things that you could do was just farm a single Galactic Legend, and Sith Eternal at the time was the king. Before Kenobi, Sith Eternal was the PvP king, because he could beat Kylo Ren and Jedi Master Luke with slight tweaks to his team. So you'd build Sith Eternal, and you could get first place in Squad Arena every day. And it was huge, right? It was this massive, massive thing. You could build this really, really compact, tiny account and get first place in Squad Arena every day, and then start increasing your account to this ridiculous level. And so now what's a little bit more difficult is you don't just build this one thing like Sith Eternal. You've got to build this broad roster to be able to get all those resources. You think of Fleet Arena, okay, you built your ships, but okay, now I need to build stuff for Conquest and for Grand Arena and Territory Battles. And so it takes a lot more of a roster to be good now than it did in, earlier iterations of this game. So there was definitely an aspect to the difficulty here that you need to be investing in things. And that's why in the free-to-play farming guide, you notice that you kind of start building some of these teams in between GLs. You don't just hop GL to GL to GL. You try and build up other squads in between them, so that way your roster is continuing to expand and grow in a healthy manner. So I would definitely say that has gotten more difficult over time, but it's easier now because there's so much more in the game, right? Like, there's so much more. And think about, they've increased the shards, they've increased core gear, like, they're giving you a lot more things, but you do need more. So take that with a grain of salt. Now, one hot topic that came up was when I was talking about my hatred for Relic 8s, and somebody was saying that the game was easier because I was able to get all these arrow magnifiers from the challenge pit raid. And I would definitely say that that was a big benefit to me. I would 100% be lying if I said that this wasn't a huge benefit. But I don't know how Capital Games could rectify this situation. Because if they were to go in and say, hey, we're going to give everybody 1,000 free arrow magnifiers. Now I've got 1,700 and you've only got 1,000. So the gap between us hasn't changed. They just have given out stuff for free. So that's not, that people would still complain about that. They'd still be like, well, why does, I should only get them. Phil doesn't. He got to do the raid. There comes a point where you just get an advantage because you've played this game for long enough. Now, the last thing I want to say here, guys, the last way that I'd say this game got difficult, right? I would definitely say that the arrow magnifier thing has been a big issue that I don't know how they're going to fix it, but, hey, it's a problem. But I'd say the last way that this game has gotten difficult and kind of changed its difficulty is the way that characters get farmed. Back in the day, one of the easiest things that came into this game was the fact that you could just go to the cantina and farm characters. There wasn't any balancing act to do with signal data. You just could farm characters straight out. As soon as I got done with Death Trooper, I could go to Geonosian Brute Alpha or I guess GBA, I don't know when he came out, but Sith Trooper or Sith Empire Trooper. As soon as Count Dooku was done, I could move on to, Battle Droid or Sith Assassin or, I got to think of the ones who were here, like Kylo and TIE Fighter Pilot. You could move on to these characters in this way. Now, with signal data, there's definitely a lot more challenging ways. But, they've made a lot more changes to ways you get characters. And not just by doubling the shards, but here. Here's a couple things. Number one is the Galactic Challenges. Think of your Galactic Challenges. They're handing out free stuff every single time. So here, Baze, Chomper, and Mon Mothma. 30 shards. You're going to be like, oh, Phil, that's not that many. This is 30 shards twice a week. So every single week, you're getting 60 shards. There's 52 weeks in a year. Just hear me out here, guys. There's 52 weeks in a year. You multiply that by 60 shards, you're getting 3,120 shards just from Galactic Challenges. So you divide that by the 330 you need for a full character. Jeez Louise. Sorry, my cat tower just fell over. So back to this. So again, 3,120 shards just from Galactic Challenges. That's 9 full characters every year that you're going to get if you can get the character shard box, right? The box that has the character shards. That's almost 9 whole characters that you don't have to farm. That was not always a thing. Then you add in your login calendars. All the different login calendars that are handing out free shards. It adds up. Trust me. Even these bonus ones, you're like, oh, this isn't a big deal. Over a long period of time, stuff like these rewards adds up. You think here's 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 free Qui-Gon Jinn shards. There's another 240 free shards from bonus calendars. You have the holiday rewards one, which has really good rewards. But you think like the one for Coors Light Leia here. You've got 18, 30, 60, and 78 free shards of Coors Light Leia. 84, I think plus 6. I missed the 6 up here. So 84 free shards. Multiply that by 12. You're getting a lot of free stuff. And then you think of the web store on top of that. There's a lot more shards that they're giving you that you just don't realize. And so, while yes, you've got a split between Cantina and other stuff, they're giving you a lot more shards now, which is increasing your shard shop currency. It's decreasing the amount of time you have to farm on hard nodes. It's decreasing the amount of time that some of us had to spend doing other things. I'll be perfectly honest. I can remember back when it was a 3-attempt maximum on hard nodes. It was a 3-attempt maximum for a while. They changed it to 8 at one point, which was amazing, and then it dropped back down to 5. But think about that for a second, that there were times where you could only farm those nodes 3 times a day. That's changed, thank God. The 8 was a bit absurd. The 8 was definitely absurd. 5 is a good number. But only single shard drops. So I know I'm rambling, and where am I heading with this, right? If you're still watching right now, you get the real answer. The difficulty of Galaxy of Heroes has remained the same. What's changed is the skills it takes to play. That before, a lot of it was just patience. And that they've taken away some of that patience and added resource management. And that resource management has then also been added to just having a farming path. That you need a wider roster instead of one single thing to get better. So, all in all, I don't know that Galaxy of Heroes is necessarily more difficult to play. It's just changed over time as the game has changed. So, that's the end of the video. Let me know your thoughts. Like, subscribe, comment. I love all you. May the Force be with you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.